Okay, hi, here's our writing lesson 4.1. We are finally going to start writing reading about a new module. So in this module, we're going to be reading about storytelling. There are three different ways or three things that relate to storytelling. Making connections, imagine, and share. So when it says imagine, they mean like imagine adventures or characters. Imagine a setting. Is it in the past or the present? Past means a long time ago. Present means now. Yes. Oh, sorry. Can you see it? Oh, my bad. Oops. Sorry. I didn't realize you guys couldn't see the board. All right, anyway. So, again, imagine, and then we have making connections, like the cultures. Is it the same culture as me, same tradition as me, the same morals as what I believe in? And then share, like the read, write, act it out, draw, and retell. So these are the three main things that we're going to be going over in this module. So let's go over some words that are important for us to know before we really dig in. Where are they? Here they are. So, moral. We said if they have the same moral as us. What does moral mean? A moral is a lesson in a story, okay? So the moral of the story that the ant and the grasshopper is that there is time for work and time for play. So the moral is the lesson in the story, right? The grasshopper is playing while the ant is working. The moral. And then we have relate. What does it mean when you can relate? Or you are related? What does relate mean, Dominic? Good, the same as somebody. If you relate to someone, you know how the person feels. So I can relate to you when Miss Yusuf says we have to do laps for recess, how you're sad. I'm sad too. Me and you can relate. We share the same feelings, right? If you say I'm related to somebody, then you probably share the same family. That means that family is connected to your family. You can also use it as in your feelings. I can relate to that. I love reading books about tigers. Yeah, I can relate to that. All right, and then we have version. Version. We have 4 different kinds of cars. This one looks like it's super old, maybe the oldest in the picture. And then we have this one that looks like it's the next oldest. And then this one is kind of old, and this one is probably the most new. There are 4 different versions. Who thinks they know what version means? Dominic? Okay. Okay, a version is different or changed form of something. So if something is a changed form, then it's a different version of. So for example, if I give you guys all a math test about addition, but I have version A and version B, yes, they're all about addition, but they're not the same exact questions. So a version is different or changed form, right? I changed the form of the test. All right, so I'm going to stop there. That's version. Okay, let's keep going. Let's watch this video real quickly. This video tells us more about the module we're going to learn about, fairy tales. All right, let's listen.
Once upon a time, 2 young explorers, Darisha and Dev, set off for a ride in their hot air balloon. The wind was powerful and blew them all the way to Africa.
Land ho!
They floated down for a closer look and came face to face with a lion and a snake.
Yum!
Growled the lion. Hissed the snake.
Wait!
Darisha shouted, thinking fast.
If you don't eat us, we'll read you a story.
A story? What's so great about a story?
Dorisha was so excited she forgot her fear.
Stories take you on adventures that are like dreams come true. People have been telling them since ancient times, and everyone loves them.
But what kind of story will you tell? Hissed the snake.
Whatever kind you'd like.
Dev said quickly.
There are many versions of stories about great heroes. Or you might relate to a fable. In fables, animals act and talk like people.
No.
What?
It's true. And some fables end with a moral. And moral is a lesson that the fable teaches.
So is it a deal?
Deal. Read us stories and you're free to go.
And so they lit a fire, and Dorisha began to read. Her stories amazed and delighted the lion and the snake.
Oh.
Until the moon rose to light their way back home. And they all lived happily ever after. What is your favorite story?
Awesome. Ooh, I like that video. Okay, so now going back to our paper, or our book, we should be on page 120. It says, Once Upon a Time. This module will be reading about texts about the topic of storytelling, how to tell a story. Let's see, on the bottom it says, No book ever ends when it's full of your friends, by Roald Dahl. No book ever ends when it's full of your friends. Huh, that's cute. And when we read a book we love, we continue to think back on it because we learn a lot about the characters and begin to care about them as much as we care about our own friends. How many of you guys when you read a book, sometimes you care so much about what happens to the character? You can really make that connection. Good. All right. Who are some of your favorite storybook characters, and what do you think about them? Who are you? Who's your favorite storybook character? Who's your favorite character in your favorite storybook, Renaya? Good, Dr. Fox and Bad Guys. If Dr. Fox and Bad Guys would from Bad Guys, if something would happen to him, would you be sad? Yes, because she cares about that character. Good. Who's your favorite character, Mariah? Who? Slappy. In what story? Okay, very good. From the Goosebumps. Yes, Slappy is very important to her. What about you, Dustin? Maybe Spider-Man is very important to him. What about you, Dominic? Who? Iron Spider. What book is that from? It's a Spider-Man book. Leia? Okay, maybe Elsa from the Frozen book. You care about her character? Good, okay. All right, let's see. What lessons can we learn from the characters in the stories? All right, so remember, stories always have a lesson or a moral that we can learn from, right? All right, let's go on. Let's see. What lessons can we learn? Let me just make sure that this is not a different one. Yes, we did just watch that. Okay. Just making sure it's not the same one. All right. Each card chose a word about the topic. Choose a word to find out more about it. So a moral, we talked about moral. It's the lesson is a lesson in a story. Relate. If you relate to someone, you know how the person feels. And then version is a different or changed form of something. So, in your reading notebooks, we're going to write what you know about each word. We're going to record synonyms and antonyms and then draw a picture of the words moral, relate, and version. Synonym means a word that is the same as. Antonym means a word that is the opposite of. So, let's keep going. Okay, so yes. No, next page. Okay, so far, go ahead and take out your reading notebooks. In your reading notebooks, you're going to make a little T-chart like he did. On one side, you're going to write, or actually at the top, you're going to write the word moral. and then you're going to write a word that's the same and different than moral. So what's a word that's the same as moral? Dustin. A what? Goal? No. Girl. A girl is... Huh? Let's go back. A moral is a what? It's a lesson. Good job. So what's another word for moral? Lesson. So you're going to write the word moral, and then you're going to write lesson. Here, you guys, okay. Okay, so your chart should look a little bit like this. The first one we're doing is moral. We wrote that a synonym for the word moral is lesson. That a synonym means like a word that's the same as. And then an antonym. What is the opposite of lesson? Who can give me an antonym for lesson? What's something that's the opposite of a lesson? I'm Ramsey. Huh? To teach somebody? How about to not teach somebody? Is an antonym like the opposite? Like the antonym of hot is cold, right? What is the opposite of lesson? Yes? Okay. Maybe to not teach, right? Okay, let's write that. Not teach or learn, right? Because a lesson is something that you learn. Or maybe just not learn. Okay, and then I want you to draw a picture, like the picture they have here of the grasshopper. Okay, I'll go back. See, this is a picture of moral. Okay. So go ahead and write this down. Okay, now that we're done with moral, the next word is relate. Relate. So if we look here, you're going to write relate on the next line, and then you're going to draw a little T-chart. You're going to write synonym and antonym. What's a synonym for relate? Something that means the same as relate. Ramsey? Okay. It's like family. Good. Maybe we can write family or making a connection. Right? Family or making a connection. Because sometimes I can relate to you, right? You guys aren't my family, but I can make a connection to how you feel. Right? And then what is the antonym or the opposite of relate? That's kind of hard. Antonyms are kind of hard. The opposite of relate is not relating or not agreeing. That's right. Not relating or agreeing. Okay, if you can just be patient, I can help you see. Okay, go ahead and write this part down. Okay, the last word is version. So we did relate, and now the next one is version. So a version is what? Remember when we were looking at the picture of the car? Very good. This is version. Very good. So it's different or changed. So a synonym is different or changed. So write that down. So a version is a different or changed form of something. So version must be different or changed. An antonym or the opposite of what version means is probably like same, right? So a synonym is different and an antonym is the same. Antonym means opposite. And then where it says draw a picture, I guess another version of a flower. You can draw, there's one version of a flower, it's called a rose. Another version or kind of flower is a daisy. Okay? All right, so I'm going to ask you to do that, and then we're going to move on. We still have one more thing. Okay, so now that we're done with that, we went ahead and we wrote down what moral, a synonym, antonym, and a picture from moral, relate, and version. Now we are going to read recipe for a fairy tale. It says you can use a recipe to make breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Can you use one to make a fairy tale too? Let's find out. So we are on page 124. All right. So it says the characters or the ingredients of the fairy tale would be a prince, a princess, dragon, castle, golden eggs, picnic basket. We are on page 124. Okay, it says directions. First, let's do some mixing. Take the castle and the dragon. 3, add a prince, a princess, and a picnic basket. 4, now sprinkle in a little bit of silliness. 5, stir them all together. What have you got? Read on to find out. So let's see, they made the story. The story. Once upon a time, a dragon lived all alone in a castle. He never came out or opened the door. The villagers thought he was mean. One day, a brave prince and a daring princess decided to save their frightened kingdom from the dragon. They marched up to the castle door. The prince hollered, "Open this door or I'll huff and puff and blow your house down." The dragon was very surprised. He peeked out a window and asked, "Really? What if I do open the door?" The princess held up a picnic basket. "Then we can have lunch," she said. The lonely dragon opened the door. He invited his new friends in for lunch. They all lived happily ever after. What would you mix up for a fairy tale? That's silly, right? They made this fairy tale really silly. They mixed it up. How would you mix up your story, Leia? Okay, good. All right. So why do you think the author wrote the recipe? To show people how to what? How to make a fairy tale, right? All right. The story or the parts are divided into steps. The steps are in chronological order. See the steps, it says directions, and then it has numbers next to it. They're put into steps, and those steps are called chronological order. That means they go in order from first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and whatever, so on and so forth. The organization makes it easy to know when to do each step, so the recipe turns out right. All right. So why did the author include the story with the recipe? Bernaya? Good, to show you how to make a fairy tale. How to follow the steps correctly, how to make one correctly. Very good. All right. Suppose you were using the recipe to make a story. What would happen if you started with step 3 of the directions instead of step 1? So if we started with add a prince and a princess in a picnic basket instead of first let's do some mixing, how would your story be different? Would it make sense? No, the story would not make sense. It would start with a prince and a princess instead of the castle and the dragon. And it would be all mixed up and it wouldn't make any sense. So what we're going to do in a minute is you're going to get a paper that looks like this. It says text organization chronological order. You're going to write the title of the story, which is Recipe for a Fairy Tale. And then you're going to tell me what happens first in the story, next, then, and last. So the story is right here. Onliners, you can either do it on this paper or you can do it in your reading notebook. Either way, you need to turn it in. If you need to read the video or access the video, you can access it now. I've also it's on the HMH website under my assignments. Okay? So after you do that, you're going to do this. consonant. This is more of a phonics. It tells you K-E, when to spell with K-E and when to spell with C-K. We kind of went over this yesterday, but I thought this was a good review as well. This is phonics. But for the reading lesson, we're going to do this. Okay? Go ahead and put the story in order from first, next, then, and last. All right. See you later, guys.